Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to part 5 of our Hamann Volcano SLR build. This episode is going to be a little bit shorter than the rest, simply because we're just moving along with little parts here and there all across the build. What we've kind of been focusing on is getting the interior ready. We've got all the engine done as per our last few episodes, so that's getting ready for paint when that comes in, which should be soon, I've been told. It is in the mail, it's on the way. So moving past the engine, we've moved on to the interior. We've got some of the interior photo etched down in the bay. We've also started working on all of the interior accent pieces. Now these were really simple to do. It's simply let me get a pointer. So these are really simple in the fact that these covers here come with a little outer ring, and then inside, on top of that ring, we placed this kind of grill piece, and then with a knife we've kind of, once it's glued and dried, we've come in and bent the little vents to make it look like it's got a 3D look. And you can see behind it here that we've hollowed those out. You can actually see through them, so that's going to look really cool, and it's got some paint on it. We've also got steering wheel done. And it's got the nice Hamann logo on that one, and we've got our pedals here as well. And those have been attached to the back of the originals. And last piece of the dash is the main one here, and we've done again with the grills what we did to the center console piece, which is going to go in here. So mainly on this one, we can go ahead and prime these and paint it in the Alcantara and start painting the trim. So this center console piece and then the actual dash cluster that goes inside of here are that pearlescent yellow color, so we're going to leave those for last. And on other news, we've gone ahead and started work on fitting the body panels, because we got most of the chassis put together. We went ahead and kind of started test fitting stuff together and getting all the body panels in place. So we've got the little flares on the hood section here. Those are all placed in. We're just going to do some seam filling on the edges. As you can see here, this little clear stuff is our Bondic that we've put in there in thin layers, and we cure it, and then we'll come in with another little thin layer and cure it, and keep doing that until we build up past the original part, and then go ahead and sand that down nice and smooth with the various grits. And that what that does with the thinner layers is allows you to build up more quickly and more easily. It gives it the material, a thinner layer is easier to cure than a thicker layer. So we know that all the way through it's cured, and it's nice and solid. It's not going to chip off at all, because that's essentially just resin on there. And same treatment has been applied to the top here. We've backfilled with the cured resin and sanded that smooth, so there's absolutely no step on there now. So once we get primer over that, you're not even going to see it or notice it. Those seams have also been filled in with some thinned Bondo spot glazing putty. And we've actually started to install the rear fender flares on here. Now you will notice this larger gap in here on the rear fender. That's going to be negligible because the new rear diffuser that goes over this and attaches to the underside, so it's almost a drop fit, so it actually seats in these two little holes here, and then kind of sits on top of this rear bumper. So there's a very small tight gap that's left, and we're not really going to worry about it because it's going to be quite negligible. So we've just done a general kind of cleanup of some of the mold blocks and some excess resin that's come out. And we've also applied that that same Bondic treatment to the edge here, because we were getting, as you can see, quite a considerable gap with these parts. Now I don't know if this is kind of shrunken in because it is, we did pin it flush with the inner fender. So either the piece is shrunk over time, or it was just designed that way to be to have some play in it for whatever reason. But now, with the sides attached firmly in place, we can see that there's going to be next to no gap. And so we're just probably going to fill in a little bit extra down there just to make it nice and tight, because you can see that looks very nice once we've get it all straightened out. But we're probably going to leave final filling like that until we get the rest of the chassis done, and start moving on to actual color. Now I'm going to probably paint these separate from the rest of the body, so I'm not going to glue them in right away, just because I feel like that's going to give us a better finish. And so we'll go ahead and do that once we get the paint in. But that's basically what we've done so far on the kit. And so, as per usual with most resin accessory kits, it's not been easy, and it takes a lot of dry fitting and thinking before you had to glue the piece down, and then some further modifications to actually get everything seated properly and working as close to the real thing as possible. And that's why we've gone over our references and we've looked at how tight the gaps are, how flush something sits. Sometimes it isn't actually a full flush piece, it's just a piece on top, so there is that parting line on some of the parts. So we've been careful to make sure that we stick to all of those stringent likenesses. So we're gonna finish. We're gonna probably prime up all the those interior pieces. Finish off with the general body panels on here, and get the engine bay all painted up and ready to go. But once those paints hit, we're gonna have a finished chassis within about a day, and we'll also have the rest of the interior all painted up and ready. The one thing I'm probably going to leave for last is the hood hinge, and we're probably going to dedicate a full kind of video to that, as well as the door hinges here. Now the reason why we're leaving this to last is because we want to make sure that all of the final paint, clear coats, and finishing parts on the chassis and the body panels that these are all attaching to fit perfectly. So that's when our final tolerances are going to be made. If we start adding layers of paint or clear coats and final touches with modifications that we might have to do with the parts, that might offset at a balance, so our door might stick out farther, our hood might not completely close flush with the rest of the body. So those are all things we want to avoid once we start doing this, which is why we're going to leave them till the very end, when we know we've got everything perfect, so that way we won't have any issues popping up, quote unquote, when we do install them. And I'm also going to kind of play around in my my spare time. I'm not going to bore you guys with the video on it. And I'm going to see how exactly I'm going to be able to put this together, because what they do recommend is that we use you solder a lot of the parts together. So I'm going to see where I can get away with soldering some minor bits into sub-assemblies, and then that way we can go ahead and paint the sub-assemblies and put them all together and see how they work, and then hopefully that will kind of mediate any of the kind of just throwing it all together issues. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll be back with part 6 once everything's primed up and we've got color in, and then we'll just go on from there. So thanks for watching again, guys. Have a good day, and we'll see you next time.